The primary objective of a good CX agent is to provide a really great experience to the user. And if you have deliver great experience, it will drive the two most important business metric, which is the conversion rate and the resolution rate. Anyone who has business will understand intuitively that customer acquisition and customer retention are the two most important things. What we are doing is a complete reimagination of the CX problem and delivering a really great customer experience using an LLM-based AI agent. And it's a very big paradigm shift, a huge technology shift. Let's just go to the first part of it, which is how it has impacted the end user experience. So, hello everyone, my name is Vinit. I'm founder and CTO of Tars. And today we are going to do a webinar around our platform Tars 2.0, which is a new and improved version of our conversational AI platform. And if I just move forward in the slide, I want to set the agenda for the call. So today, although the topic is a bit different from what we are going to present today, but today we are going to talk about what are CX AI agents and what is the definition of it, what are they good for, what is the value that they provide, and we are going to talk about how we have been solving the problems that the CX AI agents address through our platform Tars 1.0 for the past almost a decade now, and how we are building the new Tars 2.0 platform for the past couple of years, and which is an LLM-based AI agent system, and it is a paradigm shift in terms of how they approach the same problem in a very, very different way. And we are going to talk a bit, going a bit deep dive into how that architecture of that new platform is working and how does it work. And then we're going to talk about some upcoming features and we'll take question answers. So this webinar is going to be a bit different. We are not going to do a very live demonstration of the product, because in the past couple of webinars we've been doing that. And I think you have the good amount of understanding of how the new platform 2.2 for us is already working. And you can try it out already on hellotars.com. So this webinar is going to be about why, basically asking the question of why what we are building, why that is important, and why as a business or as an organization of any capacity, why should you care about CX AI agents and how it will help you in your business or in your company when it comes to customer experience or when it comes to customer interaction on your basically customer facing channels, digital channels. So to begin with, the very first thing we want to ask ourselves is, what is CX AI agents? So CX stands for customer experience. Customer experience is anything that a business has, any customer facing experience that the business is delivering to their customers or their prospects. So CX is a very big term, it's a very umbrella term, and it considers everything in the users, in the customer's life cycle for any business. So if you are running a bank, if you are a telecom operator, if you are an e-commerce company, if you are a healthcare organization, if you are a legal firm or a travel agency, anything, irrespective of what you do, you have customers. And customers, there's a whole life cycle of customers, starting from someone who is just interested into your product or your service, and they want to know more about your product or your services. So they came to your website or they came to your other digital channels, be it on WhatsApp or your social channels, and they want to ask or understand what you do. And then if it aligns with what they're looking for, they want to get more information and connect with you. So that is the pre-sales stages of any customer. And once a user is or a customer is closed, basically they are already using your product or service, and they are active. They are actually a customer for you. There is a whole life cycle part after that as well. There's a whole life cycle about customer support, where they'll have questions, they'll have issues, where they want resolution for any problem that they're facing or any challenges that they have to use your product or services. So there's a whole life cycle after the sales cycle happens. That is a post-sales life cycle. So customers are an essential part of any business. I don't have to say that. So that is, and customer experience, CX, is basically about how you are delivering the experience to your customers in a reliable, in a very in a scalable and reliable manner, so that it actually showcases your brand, and it actually aligns with your what you stand for or what services that you offer. It actually makes sense for the customers as well. So CX AI agent specifically is about building an AI agent which is delivering one part of that experience through conversational experience. So CX, when it comes to CX AI agents, it's basically about giving your customers an experience through conversational experiences. And traditionally, it's been called chatbots, but with the new age term, it's basically called agents. And which what basically it means it's a personification of your organization or your business in terms of delivering the services that you offer in a way that users can easily understand, the customers can easily understand. They can get answers to their questions. It can do things on your behalf. It's almost like having someone that represents you, represents your business, represents your organization, and is always there for your customers and for your prospects. So traditionally, it has been your sales folks or your support team, and it's still the case that you have a support team or support people of a huge set of support folks that are there to help users on calls or on live chat, or you have sales people who are there to help people in the pre-sale stage to answer any question that the user has, or basically get them to book a meeting or to purchase in the product that you're offering. So there's always there's always people to basically represent your business as an organization. But with the AI agents, with the advent of AI agents, this role is more and more being taken up by AI systems in a scalable and reliable manner. So CX AI agents, which basically means that it is taking up some part of the work of the sales folks and the support folks, and they are delivering that same experience, in fact, a better experience sometimes to your customers in a scalable manner. So CX AI agents, basically, there are primarily two use cases. So I'm talking about these things from the experience of the past almost 10 years that we have implemented CX agents across different industries, which I'll talk about more. But primarily, it is just two major use cases. One is customer acquisition, which is lead generation, and the other is customer support, which is used for customer retention. So I hope this gives a good understanding of what CX AI agents mean. What is a good definition of that? Basically, it's a customer experience, customer facing AI agents, which represents your company, your business, and they talk to your customers so that they can get their questions answered. They can do things for your customers and basically help them with whatever they need. So these are two use cases, and additionally, there are two teams within any business which use these CX AI agents. One is the customer support team, which is used for the post-sales process, and the other is marketing and sales team, which use it for lead generation and submission. Mostly, whenever people think of chatbots or CX agents, they mostly think about that it is used only for customer support, but there's a huge set of use cases around lead generation submission, which is very unexplored. And for our case, I think a lot of our customers have been using it for this purpose as well. So something I can talk a lot more about. So there's also a very important and very useful use case where people use these CX agents to generate leads and to build campaigns to get more leads in their funnel, in the top of the funnel for their sales process. So what are these CX agents are good for? Like, what is the value that they provide? I think apart from the business metric, which is good customer acquisition and good customer retention, which is basically almost always is calculated by conversion rate or the resolution rate, I think the most important value that these CX AI agents provide is the experience to the end users. And I mean, it might sound like it's not that important for metric, but I think providing a great experience to the end user is the key to all of these business metrics. So imagine that if a user might not be ready to buy your product right now, but if you provide a really great experience, they will remember that, and they will come back whenever they need your product or whenever they need a service. So providing a great experience to the end user is always been the key. And if you get that thing right, all the other business metric, conversion rate, resolution rate, and anything else that you care for will fall into place. So that means providing a great experience is. So how do you define what is a great experience? So it has to be related to what your company or what your business represents. It has to represent it in a very accurate manner, and it has to communicate really well to the users, to the customers, to the prospect that they're coming to your website or your WhatsApp or your any digital channel. So I think that is the main objective, primary objective and the value that these CX agents should focus on. And that's something that we have been focusing on whenever we think of our own product. Basically, it boils down to only two things. Again, I'm trying to simplify things a lot. There are a lot of use cases. Think of it like any point in your business, you are interacting with your customers for anything, be it not just for lead generation and support, but anything in between, for upsell opportunities, for cross-sell opportunities, for any interaction that you're having. There is an opportunity to use AI agents or CX agents to do that thing for you instead of doing it manually or through a manual process or an old process. So considering all of those use cases, what we have realized is basically ultimately it comes down to two things, which is to answer users' questions in a very reliable and effective manner and taking some actions on users' behalf. So what it means is whenever users coming, whether they're in pre-sales or post-sales stage, they will have a lot of questions about your product. They will be curious. If they're in pre-sales, for example, they want to understand whether whatever you're offering, does it really satisfy the need that they have? They will have questions around their specific use cases or whether certain things work in a certain way. So they'll have a lot of questions because they're completely new to your product. So it is mostly going to be about answering your questions, answering the questions that the users are going to ask. And once you answer those questions and once they are satisfied, there's some amount of qualification is being done by the user of your product. There's also a need for a qualification by your organization as well, whether the customer is actually a good fit for you as well. Because if they're not a good fit, it's a waste of time for sales folks or anything, any step beyond that. So answering questions is one important use case. And once users ask all these questions, you want to collect the information, their name, email, phone number, or maybe book an appointment for them or put them into a CRM. So basically taking an action on the user's behalf. So basically they want to book an appointment with you or with your sales team, or they want to be added in your CRM. So that is an action that the user actually want you to do. And that's what these AI agents can do on their behalf. Similarly, for the post-sales stage, imagine a user is asking for any issues while using your services, and they have any challenges or issues, and they have some questions around that. Again, it's the same thing, whether they want to ask some questions and get a solution for it. Even though the answer to that question might be somewhere on your website or on your help documentation, but they still want an answer to those questions in a very direct and effective manner. So this is still the case even for post-sales use case. And in some cases, they might want to escalate it to connecting to a live chat agent, or they might want to create a ticket in your ticketing system, or they might want to ask for any upsell, buying some other product as part of their issue or something like that, right? So there's always something that they want to take some action on that the user wants to do, and this is where another use case where AI agent will take some action on the user's behalf. So broadly speaking, in terms of technical functionality, the CX agents are supposed to do only two things. One is to answer questions, and the other is to take any actions on users' behalf. And if you deliver great experience, and if you're able to do these things for the user, it will drive the two most important business metric that businesses and companies care for, which is the conversion rate and the resolution rate. So conversion rate basically means for pre-sales users, people who are coming in and they're interested in your product, and the agents qualify them, checks whether they are a good fit, and captures their information, captures their email, captures their phone number, or book a meeting for you with your sales team so that it can be added to your sales pipeline and basically can go from there. So that is conversion. And resolution means that if a user is coming in the post-sales stage as part of customer support use case, and they have any questions about their services that they're using or the product they have bought, and the agent is able to answer that question without having to involve a live person, that is a resolution that happened automatically without incurring a cost for adding a live chat person to resolve that query. So that is also deflection rate, sometimes they call it, right? So these are the two important business metrics that people care for. Obviously, there are a lot of surrounding metrics as well, but we'll just focus on these two. And that is the value that these CX agents provide. And just to iterate on why this is important, I think anyone who has run any kind of business or involved in any business, they will understand this thing intuitively, that customer acquisition and customer retention are the single most important things, actually two of the most important things in any business. And you want to have a really good sales funnel to acquire new customers, and whatever customers you have, you want to keep them and you want to retain them and as much as possible. So I just linked some research by Salesforce and Disk to basically prove that this is actually the case, and it's actually people care about a lot. So I don't think I have to say a lot here, but we'll move on. So where these CX agents are used, a CX AI agent is used for pretty much any business out there. Any business who has a customer will be needing this CX agent. Whether they need a CX AI agent is actually depends on their scale, because if you literally have just one customer, you might just want to talk to them directly. You don't need an agent. But if you have a lot of customers, you need a much better scalable way to deliver that experience to all your customers in a very reliable and scalable manner. So specifically for us, for Tars, we have been focusing on B2C businesses with a large customer base, and there are a lot of industries like that. For us, focus has been on the financial companies, financial institutions, healthcare companies, government agencies, education institutes, and telecom companies, because all of these have a huge customer base. They have a lot of repetitive questions as well, but they also have a lot of nuanced questions, and there's a lot of things to be done and for users that the users want to do. And CX AI agents are perfect for these use cases, because delivering these experiences through a manual approach or through a traditional approach is very, very costly. And the experience that it delivers is also very inconsistent, because it depends a lot on the person who they're dealing with which support person they're dealing with, or which sales person they're dealing with. So providing a great experience in a consistent, reliable, and scalable manner is a very important use case for these businesses. So that's something Tars has been focusing on, which is B2C businesses for large customer base. So anything I talk about in this webinar is going to be primarily focused on these industries. So let's take that. But a lot of things I think is still applicable for B2B companies as well, but mostly it has been going to focus on B2C. So yeah, so this is pretty much what the CX AI agents mean. Again, just to quickly recap, CX means customer experience, anything that the business interacts with the customer facing to interact with customers. And AI agent basically means it's a conversational experience. So CX AI agent is how you interact with your customers, whether in the pre-sales stage or post-sales stage, in a scalable and effective manner using AI automation. So that is what CX AI agents are, and that is what at Tars, that's what our focus has been. So while preparing for this webinar and while talking to our customers as well, what I have compiled as well, but what we have realized over the last 10 years of our experience of working with different customers, there are several factors when it comes to making and using a really good CX AI agent, and I'm going to basically talk about those for the 4 important factors. I earlier mentioned already the primary objective of a good CX agent is to provide a really great experience to the end user. So that is the number one thing, because you can build your CX agent in any way you want. You can build it using a no-code builder like our platform, or you can code it yourself by literally writing the code yourself, or you can get it built by external agency. You can do it in any way you want. But if the end experience or the end outcome of that whole exercise is not good, then the whole point, you lose the whole point, right? So the most important thing in making and using a CX AI agent is to deliver a really great experience for really great conversation experience for end users. So now again, this experience comes to it can be sometimes very subjective what it means, like delivering a great experience. But I think it's primarily about understanding what the user wants at any stage of their life cycle, whether in their pre-sales or post-sales or anywhere in between. Understanding what they want and then taking the quickest step to achieve that result that they want. So basically getting the answer to the questions if that's what they want, or if they want to take some action, basically getting that thing done instead of asking them or directing them to somewhere else, right? I mentioned it earlier about how the conversational experience, how the end user experience is the most important key. So that is still number one thing. Once you have sorted this thing out, doesn't matter how you got this thing made, but once it is delivering a great experience, the next factor is how easy it is to build and test and deploy these experiences, or build and test and deploy these AI agents essentially. This is a very important factor as well because, as I mentioned, a CX agent is can appear or can be useful at any point in customer lifecycle. Contrary to this normal belief that customer CX agent are usually used for customer support use case only to resolve issues that people are asking or answer questions. I think that is a very limited view of looking at things. A CX agent can come in for running any campaigns. If you have a new feature that you have released, or if you have a new product that you want to run a campaign for, you can build an agent specifically to market that particular new product or new service. You can use it to upsell to your current customers or cross-sell to your current customers. There are so many things that you can do with agents because it is almost like you are building a team of people who can go out and basically interact with your customers at any stage of their life cycle. So because of that, there is a huge opportunity to create these CX agents for different use cases. And we have had customers who have used our no-code builder to build and come up with ideas which we have never thought about, and for different use case, for marketing use case, for customer support use case, and they are primarily used for marketing and upsell and cross-sell opportunities, and it has worked out really well for them. So it's in a lot of ways, it's almost like a replacement for like running a campaign and building a new digital channel, maybe through social media or something. But there's a lot of different possibilities. Now, if it is very hard for you to create a new agent, or you are doing it through writing your own code, or you're doing it through an external company or external outsource agency, it is going to be either very hard or very costly for you. Then you're not going to try building new different agents a lot. So yeah, you are going to be very limited on what you want to try and what you want to actually build. So that is another very second most important factor. It is to how easy it is to build and deploy these experiences. And that is where we have been focusing on for Tars. We have been, one of the most important focuses to figure out how we can make it very easy for people to build some of these experiences very easily. Third factor is once you have actually built it and deployed it in the wild and people are using it, you want to understand what is going on with these agents, especially with the new age LLM-based agent, which I'll talk about in a minute. The scope of these conversations are very huge. It's becoming increasingly more and more bigger, and they're getting more sophisticated and more nuanced. And to understand what is going on in each of these conversations between the agent and the user, it is actually quite hard. So a platform which is able to deliver or which is able to give features which makes it easier for you to understand and analyze these conversations, that is actually going to be much important factor as well. So that is the third factor. And lastly, once you understood and analyze, by the way, in the third case, it also connects to your conversion rate and the business metric and the resolution rate that you actually want to focus on. So that is also important in that aspect. And finally, the fourth point is about getting the insights from these analysis from the previous step, and then looping it back to the building stage of the experiences and improving your agent architecture, agent workflow, and also giving you ideas about how new ways you can try and build these agents for your business. So these are the four most important factors according to us. And whatever we are building at Tars and whatever we are reimagining with Tars 2.2, our focus is on these four factors and how can we deliver in that order. How can we deliver a product? How can we build a product which is actually focusing on making all of these four factors as good as possible. Cool. So since we have talked about these four factors, so what I'll go do next is I'm going to talk about how traditional CX agents have been working, which is mostly called chatbots, and that's something the pre-LLM era, and that's something we have been working on for almost 8 to 10 years now, and I'm just putting it as Tars 1.0, and how it works, what are the benefits of that technology, and where it came from, some context around it, and most importantly, in today's world, in the LLM era right now, what are the very clear limitations that are very clearly visible, something that we cannot get away from, and what is and in 2.2 how we are solving that, and how we are building a new platform which is already started building and already improving upon that, is the new platform which is going to overcome those limitations and like improve upon like delivering a much better experience. So let's just talk about the 1.2 or the traditional chatbot CX experience. So you must have seen or you must have experienced these agents on a bunch of websites that you might have visited. These agents are basically sitting on your website as a widget on the bottom right corner, and they are primarily a predefined conversational workflow. They are rule-based system. That means user will say certain things or either based on keywords, or it will be a very basic button-based navigation where user will select certain things and the flow will go to that particular branch, and then chatbot will ask something else. And it's a very predefined, rigid and a linear conversation path. And at some point it will ask you for your name, email. It will do a very basic validation check on your email syntax, and it will look for a phone number, and it will then call a API to submit that to your CRM or to generate some lead. And maybe once in a while it will, you will, if they want to be a bit more fancy, you will see a intent matching in specific places, which will make it a bit easier and make it a bit more fluid for user to identify intents, to basically say things in a very open-ended manner, and the chatbot will identify the intent behind it, and then it will branch out. So that is the kind of chatbot that you have seen, and that's what I'm calling a traditional CX chatbots. And this is what we have been building for past so many years. This is how it looks like. This is a screenshot for a real estate chatbot that we have built for a customer. And here you can see the chatbot is asking, or the agent is asking for my name. And then primarily it is just asking me a bunch of things through button-based navigation. I'm just selecting buttons. It is taking me to something else. It is asking me a bunch of things. It's almost like a replacement for a form. And but it's not open-ended. I cannot ask anything in between. I have to follow this rigid workflow or rigid conversation workflow, and I cannot go beyond it. And at the time, it was actually much better experience, honestly, because this chatbot or this agent was a replacement for a web form or a live chat agent. So at the time, it was in a way an improvement in terms of the interface or experience, because the alternative is to fill out a boring form, which people basically drop off very quickly. And the experience here is much more interactive. It feels like, okay, you're talking to someone, although people know they're not talking to someone, it's just a chatbot or just a mechanical system. So even though experience wise it is not that great, I mean, in today's aspect, but at the time it was improvement in the improvement compared to the alternative, which is a form or talking to a live person who will be very slow in asking, in giving answers and all those things, right? And it's also very costly if you're talking to a live chat agent. So this is the experience that looks like. So this is the first factor. The experience is better than what the alternative was, but in today's age, I think when you have ChatGPT and Claude talking to and in a very free form manner, this is an experience which is a very limiting experience. And even to build this thing, you will need a very complex system. Like, this is actually a screenshot of our older platform, Tars 1.2, where in order to build even the smallest, even the simplest of experience, you have to build a very complex set of workflow, which is connected to each other through rules and logic. And it is very difficult to build initially, and then also much more difficult to maintain and further update it. So and it's not easy. So it's actually, even though it's easier than writing your code for yourself, it is still a no-code platform, but still very hard for a normal person to do it. And that's where our CS team has to get involved a lot. For any real world use cases where there's a lot of different cases, there's a lot of products, a lot of services, people have questions around that. There's a lot of FAQ that needs to be answered. There's a lot of authentication or a tool calling has to be done. There's a lot of extra business logic which is not codified, and it has to be done through in a very rigid manner. So this is a result of that. So the builder experience is also very, very hard. Although better than coding it yourself or doing it or giving it to some agency, which is very costly. So that is the experience for builder side of things. In terms of analysis, there's a third point of understanding what is going on. I think analysis, it's actually easier, because the scope of these agents or the scope of these CX agents is very limited. They cannot be used to answer any open-ended questions. They are very rigid in conversations. Even if it is doing a lead generation thing, asking some questions from the user or giving FAQs kind of flow, the scope is very limited. And primarily the value is mostly assessed by the conversion rate, whether the chatbot is able to, or the agent is able to generate leads for the user, or whether they can answer the question without asking for an escalation for a live chat person. So primarily those two metrics were there, and it's much more easier to calculate that as well. But the reason that it's easier to analyze, so this is our analytics dashboard. The reason that's easier to analyze is because the scope of the chatbot is very limited. So that is how the third value is. So in that context of this particular chatbot, this particular CX agent, I think this is actually a good or reasonable use case, or reasonable value that it delivers. And finally, when it comes to optimizing and understanding the gaps in the flow, the gaps in the agents, which is causing a lower business metric, lower conversion rate or lower resolution rate, the optimization part is also super hard, because it is a very manual and tedious process. You have to go through and see. So this is something we built in Task 1.0, where you can see the droppage rate at any given point, where people are able to where people are getting stuck and not continuing the conversation, where people are continuing further. So you have to go through all of this in a very manual way and identify why people are dropping, and then come up with some alternative, and then changing that thing, and then seeing, and then again running experiment, and then seeing. So it's again very tedious process to optimize it as well. It is as tedious as building this agent in the first place. So as you can see, in the traditional approach, very experience-wise better than what the alternative was at the time, but in today's standard, the experience is very limited, very rigid conversation, very hard to make, easy to analyze, but with limited scope, because it's a very limited scope. That's why it's easy to analyze and very hard to optimize. So these are the limitations for traditional CX agents. Again, rigid and predefined conversation paths, limitations on the different scenarios that it can handle. Very brittle in terms of customer script. So in fact, for us, so we didn't even open the text, because we knew that if we open up the text, people will say something and it will not be able to handle anything. So we always kept the over text field to be closed in the older traditional approach, and it requires a lot of effort to build it. Very poor handling of context and nuances, and very high maintenance in terms of overhead. So suboptimal experience. Again, better than what we had at the time, but as an alternative, which is a form, filling out a form, but suboptimal experience, high abandonment rate, and the constant builder intervention needed just to make any changes in the system. So I hope this gives you a bit clarity about where we are coming from, what has been the improvements over the years since we have been building, not just us, but pretty much all the players in the market, what they have been doing in the pre-LLM era. Going forward, I'm going to talk about what we are doing, and I think few other players are also probably doing. But for us, what we are doing is a complete reimagination of the same problem, which is the CX problem, and delivering a really great customer experience for the use cases that I mentioned, but using an LLM-based AI agent. And it's a very big paradigm shift. There's a huge technology shift that is happening, which you are already aware of, and we are trying to make sense of the technology. We're trying to understand the use case. The use cases are still the same, but we're trying to figure out how to best use this technology to solve the same problem. So coming to this thing, so we already launched 2.2. I think this year in June we launched the new platform, and we already started deploying this thing for some of our customers. And let's just go to the first part of it, which is how it has impacted the end user experience. So as you can see, I've just taken a screenshot for one of the customers, which is a car dealership company, and it is just a very much more smoother experience, much more fluid experience, very natural language based focus. You can see here the user comes in, they just mention I want to buy a car. There's no button based navigation, they're just writing it down. There is alternatively buttons are also there if they want to select, but they can also open write text in open-ended manner. Then it asks for what kind of car you want to buy. Then the user mentioned the model that they're interested in. Then they ask for what, okay, can I do a test drive? And it knows that when the user asks for test drive, I need to collect certain information about name, phone number, email. And earlier you would have to, it will ask the name, email, and phone number in separate steps, and then it will make an API call and it'll do a bunch of things, and it'll be a very tedious process. But here the user can just write down all the details in just one go, or they can just use the mic or the voice option, and they can just speak it out loud, and they can just record it and transcribe these and give all the details. And this LLM-based AI agent can extract all this information and book an appointment for them and give all the details. And basically do things on their behalf. So the experience here, as you can see, compared to rigid experience, which is a very tedious and lengthy process, this experience is much more smoother and much more natural. It is almost like how you would talk to a person if it's a live chat person. But the difference here is that they can book an appointment in an instant, or they can fetch information for you in an instant rather than taking a lot of time and all those things, right? So that is the end user experience for the new way of building things, which is the Tars 2.2, which is an LLM-based AI agents. In terms of builder experience, this is what the workflow looks like, which is crazy. These are only 3 or 4 gambits that we have. There's some extra gambits which you can actually remove, but they're actually 3 or 4 gambits compared to, if you see this one, which is like more than 60 or 70 gambits. It is able to deliver a much better experience with a very limited or very easy to build process. And I'll talk about what are these elements look like, but this is actually the backend for this agent. Actually, it's kind of similar to that, where you have this AI agent gambit, which is doing the heavy lifting, which is an LLM brain of this system. We have the knowledge gambit, which is the knowledge of figuring out, it is the information store or the data store or database, where it is getting all the information about the cars and all those things. There's a tool which will basically do the appointment booking for you, for the user. And there's an extra button if you want to basically take them to a lead generation path on every cycle. So this is what the builder experience looks like. It is much more simpler. For each of these things, you just have to, for this AI agent gambit, you have to write a prompt. For a knowledge, actually, you just have to add your website link or your documents, and it will basically scrape through and basically fetch all the information and create a knowledge base automatically. So you just have to give your website details, website link, or the documents, and it will just do things for you. You don't have to do anything more. And for tools, you just have to add the tools, almost like an integration. You just have to connect your tool with the platform, and it will interface with the agent in a way where agent will be able to call any specific app that you are using for as a CRM, for the booking system, maybe for Google Sheet, for Google Calendar, for any of the apps. We have around more than 600 apps at this point, and each of them have like a lot of tools behind it. You can see there's like 21 tools in ActiveCampaign. There is 17 tools within Airtable to create a new row, to update a new row, to create new tables. So these are basically like APIs for it. Earlier, each of these integration is to be done manually. There's a very tedious process around it, but now you can just connect this app, connect this tool, and the agent will figure out the rest of it. So this process of creating an AI agent is much more simplified, much more approachable, and it can scale well as well, and it can deliver experiences like this. So you primarily have an AI agent, you have knowledge, and you have tools. That's it. That is the only thing that you have to worry about. And so you can see this when you look at this new approach of building CX AI agents, which is an LLM-based AI agents. It is much more natural and free-flowing conversation that adapt to the customer's intention. It can handle unlimited scenarios. It can answer a lot more questions than earlier. So one thing I think people don't underestimate is that this kind of LLM-based agent is much bigger in terms of scope of the things that it can do compared to the previous generation of AI agents, a previous generation of CX agents, where it was very rigid path and very rigid conversation. These agents can, when you connect your website, for example, if you connect your website documentation, for example, in our case, we have built an agent which connects to our help docs. It can answer all the questions that any question that the user has about the product, about any feature, about anything, how it works. Like it can basically answer all the questions in just a few clicks. That's it. You don't have to create a huge workflow to answer each FAQ take you one by one. None of that thing is needed. It can do a lot more, and it can do probably much more accurate answering compared to a live chat agent, because they might not know all the information. It might take some more time for them to answer those questions. So not only it can answer a lot more questions with the integration with these tools, with these apps, which has a lot of sub tools within that, it can also take a lot of different actions in just one connection itself. So earlier, when you had to do an API integration, you have to literally pick a specific API endpoint and the data for it, and you have to add the request and get a response, and you have to do a lot of those very low level configuration. Now you just have to add an integration, add an app, and connect that app with this agent, and it will figure out the rest of the things. So this is the paradigm shift, I would say, which makes it super easy to build an agent like this, and the resulting agent is much more capable of doing what it can do. So it delivers a great experience, and the builder experience is also very easy and much more simpler to build. So that allows businesses to make and try different CX agents, which they would have never tried if it was not that easier. So that is the benefit, I would say, for LLM-based agentic systems and CX AI agents. It is much more resilient to customers. When customers ask unexpected questions, we're going to answer questions from a huge set of database of knowledge. It is much more faster to deploy. You just have to connect your knowledge, connect your tools, and just write a nice prompt, which will be the main brain of this. And also we have built tools around that to write a good prompt as well. And it can understand the context, it can understand sentiment. We are also adding things like a separate system to do categorization and intent, which I'll talk about a bit more later. And also it is much more easier to improve it as well, because now the building process itself is so easy. The improvement needs to be done only in the knowledge side of things, tool side of things, or prompt side of things. So because the building process is so easier, any insight that you get from the analysis is also easier to implement. The part which is difficult, which I have I think mentioned in the forward some slides, is to analyze what is going on, because now the scope of this AI agent is so much increased and so much bigger. Understanding and analyzing what is going on in these conversations is actually can be quite difficult. So overall, it gives a delightful customer experience, high resolution rate, and a lot more autonomous or much more minimal intervention needed to improve the systems. So going a bit deeper into the architecture of these LLM-based AI agents, again, as I showed it in this picture, the way it works, the architecture for this is something called an agent tool loop. And it is surprisingly effective to do a lot of tasks out there, not just for CX. The LLMs in general is surprisingly great to do a really good amount of things with this architecture, which is an agent tool loop. So if you have used ChatGPT or if you have used Claude, you might not have realized, but ChatGPT is actually not just an LLM model, it's actually an agent, and it is running an agent tool loop very much like what I've shown you earlier. So it is actually connected to a tool like a web search tool or a data analyzer tool, or maybe if you're connected with your Google Sheet or something, it will use that as a tool. And it is whenever you ask a question, the LLM actually and sees what you're asking and figures out whether it needs to use a tool, and it uses that tool if it thinks it's a fit, and to execute whatever is needed and to generate the final response. So the architecture for this Tars 2.2 is very simple. The main thing is the LLM itself, which is the brain of the agent. The other is the knowledge, which is the information store, which the agent will refer to whenever it needs to get some information. And then there are tools where it can use to take any actions, but also to fetch information as well. So imagine if you're connected to your Google Sheet, which has a lot of information, it can actually use that Google Sheet tool to fetch information from it as well, and not just to add and update information in that. So tools in general is the right term. In fact, knowledge itself is also is given as a knowledge retrieval tool for the agent, and that is why it's called an agent tool loop rather than agent knowledge tool loop. So agent tool loop basically means that there's an AI, there's an LLM, which is the main reasoning engine, which is the main brain of the system. It takes in a user request or user's question, and it decides whether to use any tool or whether to just answer it just like that without any use for any tool. One of the tools could be a knowledge retrieval tool, and then bunch of other tools connect to your apps, connect to different applications, or you can create your own custom tools as well, which will basically call an API or which will do certain things on the user's behalf. So it can. So this is the main architecture, and it is surprisingly effective or surprisingly like really good in terms of delivering those answers. And we have been seeing this in some of the implementation that we are doing for our customers, and it's actually working out really well. So this is how the agent looks like. You have knowledge on this one side, you have tools on this other side. Knowledge is also basically packaged as a tool. So basically at the end it is just agent and tools. That is it. So yeah, this is another example of a very simple agent. You have an AI agent. It connects to a knowledge, which is website knowledge, and it can connect to a Google Sheet to capture leads and to put into a table or a sheet within the Google Sheet. So I'll talk about what are the promises and what are the challenges for this new system. As I mentioned already, the main set of promises is it delivers a much better end user experience, much better conversational experience, more fluid and natural conversation, and which is not possible earlier. Conversations itself are much more sophisticated and nuanced. That means earlier, when you have CX agents, normal CX agents, it can only handle very specific set of use cases, and it can only take very specific conversational paths and cannot go beyond anything beyond that. This agent can, with an LLM-based agent, with an access to knowledge and access to tools, can do a lot deeper conversation with the user and can answer a lot more nuanced and a lot more specific questions that the user have about your product, about your services, about your organization, whatever it is. And it can do, and LLMs can also understand the user intent really well. And as part of this conversation, there are basically two steps. One is to understand what the user is saying and then to fulfill that intent. And that intent is mostly either to answer the question or to make or fulfill a request or take action to a request. Much more easier to build these agents, definitely. As I showed, with a very simplified process, running an agent tool in a loop with the knowledge and tools, and making updates and improvements are focused on improving. It's basically about improving your LLM prompts, giving a much better prompts, identifying gaps in knowledge base and filling that gap, even identifying the tools that you should have and creating new tools or connecting to your existing applications and tools to improve the overall experience. So these are the promises for this new TARS 2.0 architecture. Along with promises, there are a lot of challenges as well. The very first challenge is how do we test the system? Because the agents, these ACX agents, are much bigger in scope, they can now answer a lot more questions and can handle a lot more scenarios in terms of taking actions. Figuring out and understanding that how it will behave for different scenarios is actually just increases the testing scope a lot more. And this has been one of the challenges for us in our platform as well, something that we are building on, and I'll talk about a bit more how we are solving this problem. This is one of the biggest challenges about how do we test the system, how do we test these AI agents in a way that gives us confidence that the system is ready for deployment, for the production deployment, and basically we can be more clear about whether it is doing the things that we want actually to do, right? So because it's a customer facing agent, businesses and companies are very strict or very actually concerned, and rightly so, about how it is going to interact with their customers. And that is why building a very good testing system and evaluation system is very key part of it, and that is something we are currently working on, and I think we are going to release a whole new section around testing itself very soon in the platform. So that is one of the challenges. The other challenge is LLMs by nature are probabilistic in nature, though they are basically non-deterministic. So if you go to ChatGPT or Claude and you ask a question and you ask the same question again in a new chat, you will get very different answer in terms of exact syntax or exact wordings, but the semantics or the meaning of it might be very similar as well. So traditional way of software testing and software regression does not apply that well with LLMs, because every time you invoke an LLM call, it can be slightly different from what was earlier generated, and you cannot really write very rigid test cases around that. So you have to figure out a way to test these probabilistic system in a more creative and more interesting way, but still giving so that the final result is still very much predictable and not does not like go away, does not divert from the main objective. LLMs obviously hallucinate a lot as well. That's part of this, just a feature, I guess. It's also sometimes people call it it's not a bug, it's actually a feature. So LLMs actually are prone to hallucinations, and sometimes it's good as well when you're doing creative things. But for CX use cases, it has to be very it cannot be that creative. So that is definitely a problem. So yeah, that is another challenge, which is how do we tame the probabilistic nature of LLMs and not deterministic nature of it, and to make a system which is more predictable. And primarily, I'll talk about how how we are solving these challenges, but primarily it's about breaking down the objective or the task or the goal of these LLMs into smaller pieces so that it can be addressed separately. Third is about finding or identifying useful tools that can be used by these agents. So it is not as simple as just connecting your Google Sheet or your Google Calendar or your Airtable or your ActiveCampaign app. So it is definitely there's a lot of APIs that can be used directly, and it actually works quite well as well. You can connect to your HubSpot, you can connect to your Salesforce, CRM, your Zendesk ticketing system, and can actually do a lot of those things. But whenever you get any kind of custom or any kind of custom behavior, any kind of custom business logic that you want to add, there are two ways to do it. You can either put it into the agent prompt itself and hope for the best, hope that it will actually do that thing in a very consistent and a very reliable manner. That is the problem with the second point. But a better approach would be that to convert that business logic or to convert that specific behavior that you want and turn that into a tool, so that the agent can or the LLM can actually invoke that tool in a very reliable and consistent manner. And that is something we kind of recognized, or we identified, that whenever there's a custom business logic or custom behavior that we want from the agent, instead of always trying to do it through a prompt, which works honestly, but it has problems of non-determinism and it has probabilistic in nature. A better experience or better consistent experience would be to turn that into a tool and then give that tool with a proper description and properties to the agent, and agent can invoke it, and then that will work much better and much more consistently compared to the alternative. And finally, which I also talked about, is the agent conversations are now much more sophisticated and much more nuanced and require an equally sophisticated analysis system. So building a system which can understand and comb through a lot of conversations that is happening in a very open-ended manner to figure out what all different topics are being discussed, what is the value, whether the agent is actually resolving the problems that the user is asking, whether it's actually doing what the user has asked, whether it is actually impacting the conversion rate, whether it is impacting the resolution rate, even identifying how happy the user is after they got an answer. So all of those things are much more harder in a system like this, because now the conversations are much more sophisticated and nuanced in nature. So an analysis system has to be built which is equally equipped to take care of and figure out all of these things. And that is the other thing that we're actually working on right now in 2.2 platform, which will help the users, help the admins, the agent builders to basically understand what is going on with their agent conversations. So yeah, so that is the part about the promises and challenges for the new AI agent. I think I will just take question answers. I think if you have any questions. Before we jump into that, I'll want to show you a quick sneak peek on what we are trying right now building, primarily around the challenges that I just talked about, the testing system and the testing system I think I'll talk about, and a bit about intent detection. So very quickly, I can show you this quick prototype that we are working on. It is still in the design phase right now, but we are started implementing this. This is a system that we have built a previous version of this thing earlier, and we learned a lot from that experience. And now we are building a second version of this thing. This is primarily to test in a very automated manner how well the AI agent gambit that I have shown you earlier here in this slide, how well the AI agent gambit is giving answers to the questions that users are asking, when it is actually using the knowledge, when it's actually invoking the tools in the right way. So this testing system allows you to generate a lot of questions which a user will ask, and the end user, you can actually define the persona for the end user as well. It will actually uses two separate AI systems, one to generate these questions as well. You can obviously add your own questions manually, or you can upload a list of questions through a CSV file. But if you don't have any of those things, you can actually give a very high level description of your end user persona, and the system can actually generate questions for you, which you can then edit, review, and edit. And once these questions are generated on this first column of this table, it will actually use the chatbot or the agent that you have built to generate the answers to these questions. And then once the answer is generated, a separate AI system will actually rate the quality of those answers. It will look into which knowledge sources are used, are referenced, which tools are used in what order, and whether it actually fulfills the purpose of what the user is trying to say, or user is asking question for, or whatever user is requesting for. So this system that we are currently working on, currently building, will help in testing the whole, basically the agent that you have made in a very, very automated manner. You also have the option to do a human rating. So if you have someone in the team who can actually go through these questions and see the answers that is generated and rate them manually, you will get that is also another feature where you can do this thing manually. And finally, based on this human rating and AI rating, it will actually give a final number through which you can decide whether how well your system is doing, and whether it is good to go live. So this one single metric, we are trying to build a one single metric which will help the user decide whether their system is good to go live, and it will give them more confidence before they deploy the system on a real world use case. So this is one of the things that we are super excited to build, because this is one of the major challenges currently for our implementation. There's a lot of manual process right now goes through it. So hopefully with this system we can automate this process, and we can go to market for our custom implementation much more faster. Another thing that we're building, very interesting, very quickly I just talk about, is the categorizer gambit, which is kind of like the evolution of the intent detection gambit that we used to have in 1.0, which is this is a general purpose categorization system, and it uses tools, it uses LLMs basically behind the scene. And compared to earlier approach where we used to have a very Boolean based categorization between true and false, whether certain things belong to a particular category or not, or when the user says something, we want to identify which intent they mean. This is going to be more like a probabilistic, and it will have a confidence score which will allow us to consider the cases when the user's query or any query that is given is vague in nature, and this gambit will take care of communication with the user. Whenever user says something which is vague in nature or which is not clear, it can actually ask clarifying questions, and it can give option to the user as well to select. So with this categorizer gambit, we are trying to solve this problem of much improved and much more clear and much more confident in terms of intent detection, but also other kind of categorization as well. And with this system, with what you're seeing on the right, we are also making it easier to create these categories as well through AI generated configuration. So yeah, these are two things. That's just a sneak peek that what we are working on right now. Hopefully we'll release it very soon. And yeah, that is pretty much it. But yeah, I mean, this is something we wanted to communicate with this webinar. If you have any questions, feel free to add it into comments, or you can directly reach us on the email as well. This is my LinkedIn as well. You can reach out to me and ask me questions directly as well. I hope this session was helpful. It was a bit of a zoom out vision or zoom out view for what we are trying to do and what is happening overall in the ecosystem as well. Basically, a lot of people that come to us before jumping into how to build certain things, they have a lot of questions about why to build things and what to build at all. So I think that's what we try to do with this webinar, is to address those questions and to give answers to about what is happening and where we are heading as a ecosystem and as a company and our product as well. So yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask, and hopefully this was a helpful session for you.